Our next finalist today is Valerie Stambersky, and she's currently serving in the capacity of the Interim Director of Athletics. She has been the head women's basketball coach for 14 years, and in 9 of those 14 years, her team has ranked in the top 25 in the nation in team GPA, and she's never had an academically ineligible player. She is a member of the Women's Basketball Coaches Association. She holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in correctional administration from Ferris State University, where she was the team captain for the women's basketball team. She is also an adjunct instructor at KCKCC, teaching Introduction to Criminology and Freshman Orientation. Let's welcome Ms. Stambersky.
Thank you. I'm glad to have this opportunity to stand up here and present my vision for the athletic department at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. I think the biggest thing within our department is the amount of communication. I think it's important for our athletic director to have direct lines of communication with the coaches and the athletes. I want each coach within our department to know and to understand that they're cared about and the success of their program is important to me. Within the first 2 weeks of being named the interim athletic director, I met with all the personnel within the staff, the athletic department, to get an idea of what they felt they needed in order to be successful and for their programs to be successful. I then in turn took that information that I'd gathered and I presented it to Mr. Bodie, and since then he's given me answers to their questions and direct feedback, and I've gotten back with those coaches on any questions or concerns that they've had about that. One of my other short-term goals is to make sure that the expectations of the coaching staff is clearly defined. We want to run a department that is based upon discipline, following policies and procedures not only for our school and our institution, but within the NJCAA. Meet our fundraising needs that we need to do, and to operate within our budget that we have. And I also feel that one of the biggest things our coaches need to be able to do is to be a mentor and a role model for their student athletes. I want to continue with the success that we have within our department. We have a lot of success academically and athletically as it is. I want to continue to build on that and to make it more competitive as we move forward. I would also like to create a higher level of support within the community. And by doing that, we've already made a huge step with the upgrades to the facilities on the north end of campus to help instill community pride. I in turn want to represent and promote Kansas City, Kansas Community College in the positive atmosphere. And that's by being more visible within the community and moving forward again in everything that we do. Another short-term goal that I have is to get drug testing to be a policy here. I think that this will not only help with our athletes, but will also help with dorm issues that we have here on campus. And my final short-term goal is to try to get full-time assistants here for the coaches. Having part-time coaches is very demanding, and on the coaches in and of itself, coaching is a very strenuous job, and I think in order for us to be able to move forward and be competitive as we need to be, we need to have full-time assistants that are going to aid in that recruiting process. Long-term goals that I have, I want to establish an atmosphere that fosters an all-around winning environment, both academically and athletically. We want the students that we recruit and the parents of those students to be excited about what we have to offer our student athletes here at Kansas City, Kansas Community College, both academically and athletically. I want to open the lines of communication and better those between the faculty and staff. I want the staff to know that my priority is to make sure that academics is their #1 priority. I'm ensure that they will know that the expectations of our students will be to meet those academic expectations first and foremost. As the interim athletic director, I've spoken with Sean Darrett in counseling. He wants to work with me in the athletic department on better ways to help advise our student athletes, so they can in turn be successful while they're here and when they leave here, helping us understand the rules and regulations that we are under with the NJCAA eligibility-wise, and to get them enrolled in classes that will help benefit their schedule with competitions. I think that one of the areas that we need to address is our training room and rehab space. We have 10 sports here within our department, and space is a huge issue, as you can see with the next 3 things that I have up there. The importance of a weight room facility, one that will have the items that we need to improve, to be better successful on the court and in the field, and not to be a health risk for us. And then locker room space for the 10 sports, so we all have those. Anybody that walks into our gymnasium in any day during January and February is going to understand the space issues that we face within our department. You'll have men's or women's basketball on the main court. You'll have baseball or softball on the sides, volleyball on the other side, soccer maybe on one side or in the foyer. So at any point in time, we have 4 sports going within our gymnasium. And our coaches, through the years that I've worked here, these past 14 years, have done an excellent job in making this work. But it's something that I definitely want to address in the near future. Again, academic excellence is something that is a huge priority for me. The academics will be our #1 priority. Our students are students first and athletes second. Their education is the most important thing that they're going to leave here with, and they need to understand that. I want to set higher levels of academic standards, implement these guidelines, and help provide the resources that we have available to ensure that the coaches are able to help their students be successful in the classroom. Study hall expectations within the department. As the interim athletic director, I've already met with Amanda Williams in the ARC to get a better idea of how we can better aid our student athletes with study hall. I think it's important that our athletes are in class on time, good representatives of how students should act in class. They're going to miss classes at any point in time because of contests or sporting events of any sort, so I think it's important that those other days that they are in the class and representing themselves. And in turn, open lines of communication will be expected. They'll be talking with their instructors, letting them know why they're not in class, and getting any work that they would be responsible for missing. I want to strive to have the highest GPAs within our conference. I want our athletes to be not just All-Americans on the court, but I want them to be academic All-Americans also. I want to make sure that our athletes graduate. If they're here for 2 years, there's no reason why they should not be able to leave here with their associate's degree. And in turn, they will be taking classes that they need in order to leave here with their associate's degree. And then the other thing is placement to 4-year institutions. We want our players to leave here as sophomores to go into their next institution as juniors and lose very limited credit hours that they might lose in the transferability. This next area of personal accountability is just the tip of the iceberg, I think. I have up there, those that reflect and assess themselves on a regular basis will go farther and see greater gains in life. As a department, we will reflect on the performances on the court and on the field and in the classroom. We'll assess what works and what hasn't worked, and we'll improve on the areas that we need to improve on. I think that we are the only ones that can determine our level of success, and it's the coach's duties and responsibilities to be an example on a daily basis of the type of work ethic and discipline that they want to have within their program. Coaches need to communicate and enforce the importance of their athletes' education, have guidelines for classroom expectations, and then be willing to enforce them. I feel that the coaches need to communicate the expectations of the athletes on the court and on the field. Once these guidelines have been set and have been presented to the athletes, the coaches will then have the responsibility to ensure that their players are held accountable for their actions, whether they're positive or negative. Fundraising is a huge buzzword within our athletic department. Every program in our department that wants to have out-of-state athletes has got to raise money for those out-of-state athletes. And that's going to be a responsibility that will fall directly on the coaches to make sure that they're doing their job. In turn, if they do not raise the money for their out-of-state athletes, then they will not be able to sign out-of-state athletes to letters of intent. I think for us to be able to move forward financially and in the direction we want to, we've got to stop spending money that we do not have or have not fundraised for. And lastly, budget management. I think it's the head coach's responsibility to work within the means of their budget. I've spoken with the coaches on a monthly basis as their credit card statements have come in of whether or not they have money in these accounts or they don't have money in these accounts, where they need to be aware of where their money's been spent, that this account no longer has money, you can't use it, those types of things. And department accountability. Again, our department will only be as good as the coaches that we have. And our coaches must be willing to be disciplined in the things that we do in order to be able to set that tone with our athletes. We must be positive role models for the athletes, and we must be willing to mentor them. I think there's many life lessons that are learned through athletics. And the coaches within the department have that responsibility to help those athletes learn those valuable lessons. It'll only help them be better in the future. If the coaches aren't willing to hold their players accountable, then I think that we're the ones that are failing our athletes. To me, coaching is a lot like parenting. It's not going to be about being well-liked or making, friends or anything like that, but I think it's about making the best decisions that are in the best interest of our athletes. And those athletes at the time might not always agree with the decisions they make, but I think years down the road, any coach that's coached long enough who has had players come back and say, I didn't agree with it then, but I do agree with it now, will be very appreciative of those decisions that you make. I want the players to look back on their time here and be thankful for the decision they made to attend KCK. Create a legacy. They'll have people talking. Let KCC be that buzz that's around town. And most importantly, I want every athlete within our department to feel that they have an advocate for them, to know that we're here for them and that they're cared for, and that we have their best interest at heart. I think another important aspect is citizenship. Our athletes are going to understand that being a student athlete at KCK is a privilege. It's not an entitlement. They have a responsibility to their coach, to their program, to the department, on how they represent themselves in the classroom and on the court and in the field. Our students already do and will continue to give back to the community. They need to be the positive faces within the community because they are the role models for our youth. Currently, our athletes pick up trash on campus. They read to the child care students. They participated in blood drives on campus. They volunteered for the Extreme Home Makeover edition when it was a KCK community member. They run camps and clinics to serve the youth here. We'll strive to find ways to continue to put our athletes' faces out in the community. Our athletes will understand that being a student athlete is much like being in a fishbowl. Everyone's going to know you're a student athlete. And because of that, everything that you do, positive or negative, is going to be magnified. And they will in turn set a standard for how they're supposed to act. It is my job as the athletic director to represent this institution to the best of my ability. I understand that everything that I do is a direct reflection on the institution in a positive or negative way. Our department would like to create a positive working relationship within the community. I think it's important for us to make the community feel a part of every single success that we have here on campus. We have a multi-million-dollar facility going up on the north end of campus. These sites help create community pride in the local community college. High-quality facilities like this, in turn, are going to be able to help us recruit higher levels of talent. Higher levels of talent are going to, in turn, allow us to be more competitive. When we're more competitive and we find more success, then, in turn, our community takes a lot more pride in the local community college. These facilities will also make it easier for us to recruit local kids. I've been doing this for 14 years as the head women's basketball coach, and we always fight the battle of recruiting local KCK kids. They all want to get away from home. But having these facilities, having these high-quality facilities, are going to want them to stay here and to be a part of their community. I think our alumni is our biggest voice out there. It is through the experience of our past alumni and the future alumni that's sitting here before us now that their experience here is what's going to help create a positive relationship to keep them actively involved in the success we have at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. And then again, fundraising. Many of the fundraisers that we do put our face out within the community. Go to NASCAR speedways, you'll see security, working concessions, Sporting KC, they're out there. Again, the camps and the clinics. The gym advertising that we have in our field house. the advertising that's going to be taking place on our baseball field and our softball field and on our soccer field out there. Mr. Bodie and Jim Beechwood and I have met, and I know Mr. Beechwood is working hard to create first-class signs that are going to represent our local community businesses. In conclusion, my vision for the KCK Athletic Department, I want to create a positive working environment that puts emphasis on academic success, citizenship, accountability, and competitiveness. Serve the community and the student athletes of our institution, and help to instill in them the importance of work, discipline, giving back, and being proud ambassadors of Kansas City, Kansas Community College. I feel it's important that we prepare every one of our athletes for the life that they will lead when they leave here. I want the athletes to reach a level of success within the classroom that's going to better prepare them for their future when they leave here at their four-year institution. I want our athletes to reach a level of success on the court or on the field that's going to teach them the importance of work, discipline, teamwork, commitment, to help provide an easier transition to their four-year institution and into the work world. And I want to help better prepare the student athletes to be positive, contributing members within the community and to be good citizens. In turn, our student athletes here at Kansas City, Kansas Community College will be the first-class, proud ambassadors of this institution. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes, Rob.
As a new role of director, how are you going to transition from working with coworkers as being in charge of the whole department?
I think the transition's been very easy, and as just being the interim athletic director, as is, I think our department's very excited about change. I've worked with a lot of these coaches the entire time that I've been here. Very few are the exceptions. So they understand how I've run my program in the past and the expectations that I've had. I think that they respect the things that I do, and I don't foresee any issues with there being any change in how they respond to me from being a peer to being the athletic director. Yes, Ms. Flunder?
What community organizations do you belong to, and how much money have you raised as a coach?
For this year alone, our program itself has raised between $12,000 to $14,000 alone this year currently, and we're getting ready to start out again after our season's over, working out at Sporting KC. We've got 6 events lined up, so that's going to generate probably another $2,000 to $3,000, and we're going to be working a concession stand at NASCAR for the spring race. So as far as community involvement goes, I'm very active in our church. I've have 2 young children that have attended Tots and Tails Montessori school up the road. And other than that, my family and my job and supporting the local athletics here up at the school is what keeps me busy.
Piggyback on Ms. Flunder.
Uh-huh.
You evaded the question what community organization you belong to in this community. That's what we're trying to find out. Do you belong to a community organization? There's several of them. You know, you got Open Door, got Pride, got Northeast Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
You got several community organizations in this community. We're just trying to figure out, do you belong to one of them?
I do not. Yeah, I do not belong to one of those in this community. But I have served this institution and this community with a lot of pride for the past 14 years. Yes.
Are we done?
No.
How do you plan to monitor and regulate athletes' social media interactions? Other colleges have sports information directors who overlook this. Do you overlook this?
It's a good question.
We could hear the question. Oh, are you again?
Yeah.
How do you plan to monitor and regulate athletes' social media interactions? Other colleges have sports information directors who overlook this. Do you have a plan for this?
I guess the way that I would approach that is coming up with a policy within the department. Coming down and making sure that our coaches are aware of what's allowed to be on social media, how we're supposed to engage in social media with Twitter, Facebook, things that you can and can't post along those lines, should or shouldn't post, being ambassadors and representatives of this institution. So we would get those guidelines set down and then expect the coaches to enforce those within their athletes. Yes?
Regina Jerry, one of the academic advisors here. Coach Stambersky, do you have any concerns about the housing that is used across the street for athletes? And if so, how do you intend to address this concern?
I think one of my biggest concerns goes back to the ability to get drug testing done here on campus. I think that if we eliminate if we take that aspect out and we're able to drug test not only our athletes here, but anybody that would reside in our dorms, I think security and safety issues would be alleviated quite a bit. I think visibility from the coaches here on campus, making sure that you get over there and you're a face in the dorms, that your athletes can see you as much as possible, is going to help deter a lot of activities that go over there. I don't have any concerns with my athletes that live over there. Any concerns that they have had, we've addressed, and they've been taken care of in a very swift manner, with their safety and security being first and foremost.
Val, as a new athletic director, how are you going to bring all of your staff, head coaches, and assistant coaches into line with your vision and your direction for the future of our athletic department?
I think opening the lines of communication is the first part. Everyone needs to be on the same page. I think all coaches coach differently, and again, it would be my job to understand how each coach responds, much like when you're coaching athletes. They respond differently. Some coaches you can say, this is what I want, and they'll take it and they run with it. And some people you can say, this is what I want, and then you're going to have to constantly remind them. So it's just about making sure that the ultimate goal of our athletic department is constantly in front of us and we're moving forward in a direction.
Are you gonna have any outreach to the local high schools around here?
I think that would be a great opportunity. I know that in past years we've had, I know middle schools come up and watch our games, and I've talked to some local middle schools also about when they come up to our games, about coming in and meeting our players, showing them around, that type of thing. But I think that one of the things I would like to see is, instead of them always coming to us, taking our athletes to them, get them into the high schools, get them into the middle schools, because they are those positive role models. You know, they have a passion for sports. They want to play those sports, and for them to see up close and personal student athletes come to them and talk to them about their experiences and how things have worked for them, I think would be very beneficial.
I don't know if this is really directed to you so much, but how will you develop a booster club in an urban area when, you know, there's a lot more things for people to do, and, you know, where in a small town in Kansas, that's the only thing to do, so they bring a busload here, which is pretty impressive.
Right.
Any ideas on that?
Yeah, actually, a couple years back, I spearheaded an all athletic department newsletter type thing, and had the coaches just monthly give updates on things that are going on. Obviously, we don't have a full-time SID, and having an SID in that capacity would be very beneficial to be able to do something like that, to create a newsletter to send out. I think that's where we reach out to our local alumni, because a lot of our alumni that we have are local, and generating that support and keeping them connected with that. But then again, just getting them to the events. I can't even begin to tell you how exciting it is to be able to go to a home baseball game, or to have a track meet or a home soccer game here on campus. And when we have those opportunities, it's going to bring the community more to us. That's going to make generating a booster club a lot easier. Any other questions? Comments?
Okay. All right, that was